South today.
He survived the horrors of the trenches. He was badly wounded, but he recovered. And then he became a much-loved personality. His name was Warrior, and he was a magnificent grey charger. This week on South Today, in the countdown to the release of Steven Spielberg's blockbuster War Horse, we've been telling the stories of some of the real four-legged heroes of the First World War. Here's Steve Humphrey.
These Thames Valley police horses, Troy and Samson, have been chosen for their courage, calmness and resilience. Qualities also valued by the army in the First World War. And Samson looks very similar to this hero of the Western Front, Warrior. After the conflict, he became a police horse in Southampton. So, was a war horse a good choice for police work?
For your riot situations, etc., they'd have already been exposed to the noise, the shouting, the crowds and the gunfire, so they would have been perfectly placed, yes.
After his military service, Warrior was donated to the police by Southampton animal lover Hilda Moore, who insisted on giving him a bag of sugar every year. The police still have a few mementos of the horse, including this plaque he wore on his harness.
It just details the fact that the horse was involved in the retreat from Mons, and then was subsequently wounded by shrapnel when they were advancing on Esne in France. The second thing we have is the equivalent of a medal for an animal, which is a campaign medal.
And incredibly, this is one of Warrior's hooves that was turned into an inkstand back in the 1930s. To satisfy the Army's demand for horses in the First World War, there was a rapid expansion of what were known as remount depots. Horses were brought from all over the world, including 700,000 from North America.
Two of the biggest remount centres were here in the south. One of them was at Swaithling, just to the north of Southampton. The other one was here, on the edge of Romsey. In the First World War, Ramville's farm was at the centre of a huge army camp, with hundreds of horses arriving and departing every week.
There were stables, a veterinary hospital and barracks for the soldiers.
I mean, it was an enormous place. You've got a population in Romsey of about 5,000 people. You've got 2,200 complement up here.
Most army horses were shipped to France from Southampton docks. On one occasion, horses stampeded through the city. When they were rounded up, the soldiers discovered they'd ended up with 2 extra horses.
The next day, the butcher came up from Southampton and said, I had 2 of my horses in a field nearby and they've disappeared.
Looking after the horses was the responsibility of the Army Veterinary Corps.
We had a proper evacuation system for our casualties, our equine casualties. We had mobile veterinary sections to carry out the first aid of the wounded or the sick horse. We evacuated them back to veterinary hospitals. We even had horse convalescent depots. But more importantly, we had more men, more veterinary surgeons, more soldiers in the Army Veterinary Corps and more equipment, which was important.
It was treatment Southampton's Warrior benefited from when he was hit by shrapnel. After he returned from the war, he served in the police for 16 years.
Warrior died in 1935 and he was buried here on the edge of the city's municipal golf course.
There is still a flower bed shaped like a horseshoe in front of Warrior's memorial. It's a poignant tribute to Southampton's real war horse.
And as a postscript to that story, we had a lovely email from Pan Purvis in Dibden. Thank you, Pan. Because her mum, who used to live at Bitton Police Station from sort of 1920 onwards, she used to feed Warrior. She used to be there. She knew Warrior stay with her. And apparently her mum used to wear a sort of black and white coat, and she used to give him a mint sweet. And there was a day she recalls when she was in the crowd watching Warrior parading down the street, and Warrior spotted the black and white coat and left the parade and came over expecting a sweet. Really nice story, Pam. Thank you very much for that. OK, on to sport now. Tony Husband is here, of course.